Hello, everyone. This is your girl Rita, also known as the Gold Digger. Welcome back to my channel, or if this is your first time, welcome. But here I talk about my life as a wife, mom, entrepreneur, and business owner, the challenges I face, the obstacles I overcome, all while trying to crush and achieve my goals. And today, I am coming to you to talk to you about 5 tips when filling out a job application. Okay, so I'm a business owner. I have my own business. I see tons of applications, especially when we have to hire people. So I'm looking through different applications. Applications come in randomly, even when we don't have any open job positions that I am seeking currently, but people bring in their resumes different times or emailed me their resumes all the time. And I'm constantly having to, I won't say constantly, but I'm often having to look at different resumes and make choices and make decisions. And when it comes to who is going to the next phase or who do I want to bring in for an interview. So, if you have been applying for jobs and wondering why you don't get any callbacks, why people haven't been calling you to come in to interview, you've been submitting out, job applications to several different companies a day and not hearing anything back. I'm going to give you some tips that you can use, that everybody should know and use and apply, especially in this day and age where the unemployment rate is so high and there are a lot of people looking for jobs. Like, I want you to do well, but based off of some of the applications I see that there are a lot of people who are just lacking some basic knowledge that I thought may have been common sense or commonplace, but obviously it is not. So I have just 5 tips for you today. Basic job application knowledge that everyone should know. All right, so let's jump into it. So tip number 1 is to make sure with whatever job you're applying for that you stand out, especially if you're applying for like a entry level job. And part of that is recognizing when you're applying for an entry level job so that you can make sure that your application stands out. Now, you're like, how am I supposed to know if I'm applying for an entry level job? I'm going to tell you. So there is certain language that I will use. There are certain job titles that I will use when I post a job that will allow me to get a broader or a larger range of applicants. So if I know that I want to have a large range of applicants, I will put a certain job title up there to make sure I'm casting a wide net to a lot of different people. But because of that, just like because I know I'm casting a wide net, you also need to recognize that the employer is trying to cast a wide net and know that a lot of applications are going to be coming in. And some things that might key you in is just like receptionist, secretary, that kind of stuff. But if it's something like medical receptionist or something more specific, instead of just receptionist or instead of just clerk or whatever, technical clerk, I don't know, I'm just coming up with names or whatever, but anything that is more specific, that lets you know that it's not going to be as many people applying. But the broader the job title is, the more people are going to apply. So seeing things like receptionist, front desk, filing, secretary, that kind of stuff, and it doesn't say like executive secretary or administrative secretary, that kind of stuff, just know that a lot of people are going to be possibly applying for their position. Like everybody and your mama is going to be trying to get that job, and you need to make sure that you stand out when it comes to that. All right, so that was tip number 1. Make sure your resume or your job application stands out, especially when you're applying to an entry level position or a very common or popular position. All right, moving on. Tip number 2 is capitalize your name, boo, or just use capitalization, period. You know what? It blows my mind the number of resumes I get where people's name is not capitalized. And I will tell you, if I see that, I don't even go any further. So I haven't even looked anything past your name. I haven't looked at your previous job history or anything like that, who your employers were, what kind of skills you have, none of that stuff. Because, baby, you didn't even know how to capitalize your name. And that is something you should have learned in kindergarten, okay? So I'm not even considering you at this point. And not only should you capitalize your name, is make sure you have other stuff capitalized, like the city and the state, the company you used to work for, the name of your manager or any other people's names that are part of your resume. Capitalize your job title. Like, seriously, I am just amazed that people don't know how to use proper, or I don't know if they don't know or they just don't care to use proper capitalization. Okay, so Elmo says use proper capitalization because you are not applying for a job at Sesame Street. Okay, so I need for you to know these basic skills so I don't have to worry about or be wondering, do I have to make sure that you know this kind of stuff when you're sending an email or some other type of correspondence on my behalf. Okay, so remember what you learned in kindergarten, remember what you learned watching Sesame Street, and use capitalization appropriately. All right, this message has been brought to you by the letter C for capitalization. All right, I think you get my point. Capitalize your name at the very least. All right, tip number 3 is the sister, cousin, whatever, to tip number 2, and that is do not write in all caps. Like, your resume should not be in all caps. Like, even with that, I get applications or resumes in, and the whole thing is in all caps. Like, why are you yelling at me, boo? Why? Why is it in all caps? Now, if you don't know why you should not use capitalization throughout the whole entire resume, like your whole thing is capitalized, it's because everything being capitalized makes it very hard to read. You know what happens when it's hard for me to read your resume? I don't. I throw it in the trash and I'm like, next. Okay, so don't use capitalization throughout your entire resume. Don't capitalize everything where it looks like you're yelling at the person who is reviewing your resume. All right, let's move on. Tip number 4 is to do everything that the application asks you to do. So in that same vein, I get plenty of applications in. There are several. The particular software system that I use or a platform that I use, I can ask questions of the particular job applicants, and it's just like a handful of questions, like 4 or 5 questions. Please answer those questions. Answer all the questions on the job application. Also, the platform I use, I can have them to do applicants to do assessments. If there's an assessment that needs to be done, do the assessment, please, because I know for me personally, if you have not answered all the questions on the application, if you have not done the assessment, guess what? I don't consider you anymore at that point. So do everything that the application asks of you so that you can make it to the next round and be called in for an interview. Okay, and one other point along those same lines, if the application says please do not call or contact the particular employer where you are applying for the job, then don't contact them. Okay, follow the instructions. And typically, I know from my experience, the main people who are calling and contacting us, even though we've asked them not to, are the same ones who have not even completed their application in its entirety. Okay, and the message you are sending is that you can't even follow basic, simple, straightforward instructions. And if, especially for a job where we're having to provide on the job training or something like that, it sends a message that, you know, training is going to be a nightmare because you can't even follow that instructions from this application. So don't do it. All right, lastly, tip number 5 is don't ask for a high salary if you are applying for an entry level position, or if you're applying for a position where you have no job knowledge or no job skills. So I have seen people wanting, you know, $25 an hour for a job where they have absolutely no experience. Like, child, bye. You're not gonna get the job. You can't even really help me, and you want to get this high salary. So don't do it now. And just realize that knowing that you are limited on job knowledge and job skills also means that you are going to be limited on the salary. And if you are not willing to learn and start at a lower salary and work your way up, there is no need for you wasting your time or my time by even applying for the position and asking for some crazy amount of money that doesn't even fit. Okay. All right, so those are all of my tips. Let's do a recap because, like I said, these are basic, simple tips that I think everyone should know. And I do want everybody to succeed and do their best and, you know, nail it on their job application. So, you know, I feel like this should be a given or everyone should know this kind of stuff. But let's recap. Tip number 1 is make sure you stand out, especially if you are applying for an entry level position or a more popular or common position. Tip number 2 is capitalize your name, boo, and use capitalization where appropriate. Tip number 3 is don't overcapitalize and don't capitalize your entire resume. Tip number 4 is do everything that the application asks of you to complete and complete the application in its entirety. And tip number 5, don't ask for a salary or a high salary that is not in line with your job skills and your job knowledge. All right. Now, if you found this video helpful, please let me know. If you would like for me to share some other tips for job applicants, please let me know and I'll be happy to make future videos because there are some other tips that I can share, but these are just some of the common basic ones that I feel that everyone should know, and if you don't know, now you do. All right, but that is all I have for now. Please subscribe to my channel, and if you like the video, hit the thumbs up. Thanks again. Until next time, take care, everyone.